What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. Before I get into the commentary, though, how accurate were the breakdowns for Dana White Contender Series Week 2? Incredible night of fights. If you didn't watch it, I don't know how you could be an MMA fan, be a UFC fan, already paid for Paramount Plus, know that that's on, and willingly turn away from it. It is everything you would want to see as a fan of mixed martial arts. But Carlos Prates dropped some major news earlier this week. According to him, he signed a brand new 8-fight contract with the UFC. And more importantly, he apparently has been told he's next in line for a title shot at Islam Makhachev. This is his direct quote. "I'm ready for the title, new contract. I think Morales is going to fight maybe Bilal Muhammad or another fighter, but he needs to fight one more." Now, when it comes down to who deserved this title shot, I don't think anybody is going to have a problem with Carlos Prates. I think you can make the case that Prates is the contender who's done the most to earn this opportunity as of who's left. But deserving the fight and actually liking the matchup are kind of completely different things, because stylistically, I think this is probably the best matchup for Islam Makhachev amongst the contenders. Now, that's not to say that Prates isn't terrifying when he's allowed to strike. I mean, he is long, he's powerful, he's composed. He has the type of finishing ability where one mistake can completely change a fight. But I don't even think we have to go over what Islam loves to do. He loves to wrestle, he loves to clinch, he loves to force grappling, and he's going to make Prates repeatedly defend takedowns. He's going to make Prates repeatedly work to get to his feet. And that's why, if Islam really does want Prates next, and he's basically said that's who he wants to fight, part of me believes he's saying that because he realizes this is a very favorable stylistic matchup for him. Now, the fans are probably not going to be all on board for this, more so with what we've just seen. But having said that, it doesn't mean Prates can't win. I mean, with his power, he absolutely can. But if you're Islam and you're looking at the pool of contenders, if you will, why wouldn't you want an elite striker whose biggest question is going to be, can he defend your takedown? Can he stop your wrestling? Does he have good cardio? Now, the bigger part of this story, at least for me, and what honestly caught my attention more than the fight, because I think we all know these fights against Morales, against Prates, they're a foregone conclusion. But the fact that Prates signed an 8-fight contract, 8 fights, is crazy to me. As someone who's worked on UFC contracts with fighters, so depending on how active Prates remains, you know that he's going to be offered fights, but depending on how active he chooses to be, you're talking about the UFC controlling his contract for the next 3 to 4 years. And he's signing this deal right as his value could absolutely explode. I mean, let's say he does beat Islam and win the championship. You would obviously know that his value would be at its peak. And you would want to use that as leverage for the rematch, because your value would be dramatically different than what it is today. You're the UFC champion. You just defeated one of the greatest fighters of the generation, and you're potentially now locked into 7 fights under a contract that you negotiated before you accomplished any of that. I mean, even if he loses, right? Let's say you have a competitive title fight. That would increase the profile tremendously. I've often thought, after watching Ian Gary and Islam fight, I myself was more excited to see a rematch between Ian and Islam than I was Islam and anyone else. Because I felt, truthfully, Ian was kind of right there. And if he had a whole fight to look at, if he had a whole camp to specifically hammer down, hey, there's, all these situations where we failed to capitalize, where we failed to excel. And if we can work those kinks out, if we have one round go differently, then maybe that is a different fight. So now seeing this contract, It's a bit surprising. And I don't know if this factors into the PFL MVP merger, but obviously the market is getting stronger for these fighters. I would much rather see fighters in this position get 4-fight deals. Ideally, then Prates has some way of only having maybe 1 or 2 fights remaining after an Islam fight. That gives him an opportunity to reevaluate, maximize his negotiating leverage, and then potentially negotiate when his value is at its highest. But we also don't know what the money is. Maybe Prates and his team negotiated this incredible deal. Maybe there's escalators. Maybe there's championship provisions. Maybe there's other financial incentives that make 8 fights completely worthwhile. But if you're committing that much of your prime to one promotion, I would hope that you were getting paid some life-changing generational wealth in return. To get back to the obvious picture of the fight, I wondered, are we kind of getting to this final chapter with Islam's career? Right? Let's say he gets through Prates, he gets through Michael Morales. What else does he really need to accomplish? I mean, if Islam beats both of these guys, and I get it, that's a massive if. I could see him deciding that's it. You beat Prates, you beat Morales, you defend your championship, you walk away while you're still on top. So if Carlos Prates just revealed that he is the next contender for this championship, in a way, he also revealed that he might be one of the final opponents of Islam Makhachev's career. Prates deserves that opportunity. I just don't necessarily love the matchmaking for him. And again, if this 8-fight contract is accurate, then I really hope the money matches the commitment in terms of what he just made. Love to know your guys' thoughts on this. Appreciate you watching it. We have a main card breakdown coming up for an incredible weekend of fights. Look forward to that. Appreciate all the support. Be back as soon as I can with more commentary.